Hello, and welcome to A Better Morning. I'm Heather Klein. We debate the trending topics in sports from a sports betting point of view. Let's welcome today's panel. The fantasy executive, Corey Parson. Lead NFL analyst of Fantasy Alarm, Andrew Coop Cooper. Host of Her Story in the Making and co-host of Lightning Round, Britt Flynn. And last but certainly not least, head of content of Fantasy Alarm and award-winning host and personality on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Howard Bender. Welcome, everyone.
Morning. Digging on that intro music there. It's kind of waking me up a little bit.
Oh, good,
dude.
Corey, did you write that?
No, I did not. And it's kind of waking me up. But today is a go back to sleep day for the fantasy executive. So you know what I'm saying? Let's get ready to get rolling.
No,
I think I'm up.
I don't know what a go back to sleep day is during.
Well, good for you. Hey, Howard, I wish it wasn't that way. You know what I'm saying?
There's no hitting fast forward on the morning show, Corey.
I will trade. I officially make a trade with Corey Parson. His job for mine right now.
Yeah, let's
just
do
for
it.
today.
Just Freaky Friday it.
Do it.
Ooh. I like that. If you guys could Freaky Friday with any professional athlete, who would it be? Come on, quick.
I actually don't know. I'm just going to say Ohtani.
Oh, I like that. I'm going LeBron. I've never been able to dunk.
Oh my god! If I could dunk, I'd be at the Y dunking right now. Right, like that's all I would do. So I'll pick Wemby. He got to throw out the first pitch. He also got to throw up the first pitch for the Yankees, which is cool.
Corey's like Wilt Chamberlain if you were alive today.
Corey's like, I'm going to bed.
That's not. Those days
Corey's
over.
Corey's
Those
like,
days
who's
over. Hey,
Corey's
Howard,
like,
those days over.
Corey's picking whoever's on the West Coast and is still in bed right now.
All right, guys.
I just want to pick any dead athlete.
Oh, my. With last night's 2 home runs against the Twins, Ronald Acuna Jr. reached 50 RBI this season. He joins Joe Morgan as the only players with 50 RBIs and 35 stolen bases before July, which Morgan achieved with the Reds in 1975. Acuna Jr. is the National League MVP favorite at plus 190. Shohei Ohtani, on the other hand, is the 6th player in AL and NL history to achieve 90 hits, 25 homers, and 10 stolen bases through the month of June. Last night, he hit another 2 home runs, struck out 10 versus the White Sox. Of the previous 5, 3 won MVP later that year. The Unicorn is currently a minus 1,000 for the AL MVP title. Who do you have the most faith in winning MVP in their respective leagues? Corey, we're going to start with you first.
Well, at minus 1,000, I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves that you got to have a lot of faith in what Ohtani is doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Listen, he was there last year, but it took Aaron Judge to have an historic season, you know, for a franchise like the New York Yankees to really be the only reason why Ohtani didn't win the American League Most Valuable Player last year. And I got to be honest with you, what he's doing this year is very impressive. And it's impressive in the fact that we actually get to see somebody do this and play two-way. Like the rumors of Babe Ruth is cool, but we can turn our TV on and actually see Ohtani doing this. And I'll be honest with you, it is quite interesting. You know what I'm saying? It's caught my attention. And I'm like, wow, this guy really can do some everything. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could do that. I wish I was ambidextrous.
Yeah. So the Corey Parson, Babe Ruth never existed. That narrative is one of my very favorites. I'll tell you this. If you were MLB marketing execs sitting around the table trying to come up with the best thing for this game, you'd be like, well, how about this giant man emerges from the Asian market and he just hits absolute bombs. And every time the camera's on him, he smiles. And let's have him play for LA. And then some other dude at the table would raise his hand and he'd be like, well, how about he's also a really good pitcher? Like everyone would be like, Jimmy, that's way too much. Like no one would ever believe that. But that's actually what we have. So what they should be doing is giving him this award and giving him every award. And every night should be bobblehead night. And they should parade this guy around the entire world and say, look what we have. You should actually watch baseball. So it's definitely Ohtani for me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think there's any kind of competition right now in either league. NL for Acuna. I mean, the dude's about to go 2020 before the All-Star break. We heard the stats lined up. Do we even need to go through the rest of the stats? I told everybody, coming into fantasy baseball season that he was my easy pick for the 1-1. There was no question about it. He came back from injury absolutely beautifully. I mean, as far as Ohtani goes, again, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, the dude is just absolutely maddening. I mean, this kind of goes back to really, I'd rather just sit and talk about like what Corey had to say last week about, talking about MLB learning better to market themselves and to really just kind of lean into what we've got here. Numbers wise, from a betting standpoint, you'd be ridiculous to keep investing in these guys. They're easy favorites.
Yeah, at this point, Ohtani is a lock for AL MVP. And I really don't understand how in the preliminary voting that Aaron Judge got 12 votes when he missed games in April and May, and he has an indefinite timetable for return now. Like, I think the odds corrected themselves last night after Ohtani's huge game. And imagine what he could have done if he hadn't left early due to his cracked fingernail. Like, this guy is just amazing. You couldn't write a better story. In the NL, I think it's a little bit muddier, actually. And as much as I like Freddie Freeman, though, it probably is going to be Acuna. You don't get much return on either of these bets, but with all the milestones both of them have hit, I really don't see anybody catching up to them.
Aaron Judge is getting votes for one reason and one reason only, and that reason is Yankees.
Yeah, you got an NY on his hat. Yeah, so that makes a big deal right there. So Coop is correct, and that's the case. Wait a minute. So Son left the game with a cracked nail.
Yeah. Yep. Right. Cracked fingernail.
All right. He couldn't get a feeling at halftime. Oh, it's baseball. There is no halftime.
It's all halftime, dude. The whole game is halftime, man. Half the team comes off the field, relaxes.
That happened last night, and it was like Rocky's manager in Rocky 3. He was like, "You see that? He's not a man. He's a machine." I mean, just throw in the damn towel. Anybody else? I would rather debate which is a better horned animal, the unicorn or the narwhal, than to see whether or not anybody else can take down.
Howard, they only have narwhals out there in the Bay Area. The rest of the country don't know what a narwhal is.
If you ask Corey, he'd say that.
If the rest of the country
Babe Ruth is a unicorn. He doesn't even exist.
Does the rest of the country genuinely not know what a narwhal is? Come on.
I know.
Did anybody see Elf?
Hi, buddy. I hope you find Dad. You got him with Elf. Elf is where Corey's like, oh yeah, okay.
All right, Heather, I think we've already established Ohtani, Acuna. Don't bet anybody else. You be an idiot.
Yeah.
Next.
We mentioned yesterday Diamondbacks Zach Gallen is the favorite in the first half of the MLB season for National League Cy Young odds. As we move towards the second half of the season, Rays' Shane McClanahan is the American League Cy Young leader, but Astros' Framber Valdez is hot on his heels at plus 300. Do you think Shane McClanahan has what it takes to continue his success? And would you bet the plus 250, or is there another pitcher you have in mind? Howard, you are up first.
Well, I don't need to bet Shane McClanahan at plus 250 because I already have Shane McClanahan as the AL Cy Young Award winner at plus 1,800 from the preseason. He was my pick to take down the award earlier in the season, so I have no reason to change off of that. I love what Framber's doing. I love what any pitcher is doing when they're successful. McClanahan was my guy. Now, the big key here for McClanahan is going to be this coming Friday's start. Let's see how he comes off of this injury. It was a middle back injury, so they're saying it was muscular, it was tightness. I'm always a little leery of that. I know that can affect delivery. So we'll see. But, to me, if McClanahan just does what he's been doing the entire season and just kind of gets steady, I think he's the one to pick.
Yeah, I'm with Howard on this one, especially because you can still get him now. I know not everybody can bet 1,800, Howard. Not everyone's as smart and as award-winning as you, but the rest of us.
What?
The rest of us.
Say that one more time. I'm gonna jump into your time on
Not
this.
as not yeah. Why don't you have all my time, Howard? You're just amazing. You're amazing. You truly are. So not everyone can get him at plus $2,000, but plus 250 right now. This award, some of the other awards like MVP and obviously the Hall of Fame, these writers like to grandstand. They like to make a point. With the Cy Young, they generally like to pick the best statistical guy, and they don't even lean into the deep stats. They go for wins. They go for ERA. That's where Shane McClanahan is ahead of everybody else. And in ERA, it's not even that close. So the easy one for me. Plus 250, I'm still in.
See, I'm actually going to disagree. I'm going to go with Valdez here.
Okay.
I worry that a few things are going to roadblock McClanahan from winning the AL. And one of those, like Howard mentioned, is the injury. Back injuries and pitchers can kind of linger. And the Rays have said it's precautionary and that he feels good, but we've seen athletes kind of minimize their injuries time to time just so that they can go out there and compete. The Rays also have a tougher schedule coming up leading up to the All-Star break with a series against the Phillies and Braves. So he could fall off against tougher competition. The Astros and Valdez, on the other hand, have a baby poo soft schedule with games against the Cardinals, the Rangers, the Rockies, and the Mariners. So I go ahead and lay down a plus 300 on Valdez.
That's interesting. But you fantasy executive type of cat where I'm an all-in guy, you know what I'm saying? And now that you people kind of got me into this Ohtani thing, let's give him the American League Cy Young too. I mean, why not? Let's just make it the summer of Ohtani. You know what I'm saying? Hit home runs, strike out 10 people. You know what I'm saying? Press conference, everybody leading man in Sports Center. Listen, I am on the Ohtani train now. You guys brought me in. I'm here. So at 12-1, give me Ohtani. Check out how crazy this is. On the ESPN stat page, they have team stats. They have 10 stats, 5 pitching, 5 offense. Ohtani lead 8 of them, including all 5 of the batting ones. You know what? Let's just make it the summer Ohtani. Give him the Cy Young. Give him the American League MVP. Give him the NBA Rookie of the Year. Just give Ohtani all the awards. It's the summer of Ohtani.
Bobblehead night every night.
Every night.
And you know what? I'm fine with that. But what kind of a shakeup are we looking at in baseball now that if Ohtani, let's say Ohtani gets the MVP and he gets the Cy Young, all right, where's he going next year? Is he coming to the New York market? I know the Mets have been talking about it. There's a couple of teams who are actually interested in it, but you know, Marino wants to keep him in LA. Is he going to build stuff around it? What's Ohtani's contract going to look like if he pulls down all of these awards? I mean, could feasibly bankrupt a team getting what? I don't know, $600,000-$750,000 in a contract there.
Well,
I mean, it'd be massive.
I bet I made all that money betting on Zach Gallen and the A's last night. So I will donate the money I won to the Red Sox towards the Shohei Ohtani funds. Let's bring him.
Good for you that you got money to give to the Boston Red Sox. I keep my money. I try to keep my money and not give it to billionaire franchise.
You would think they wouldn't. You would think they wouldn't need it, but the way they operate, it seems like they do.
Well, I want to circle back around to what Howard said. Is he going to stay in LA? Yes, but he's going to go to the Dodgers. The Dodgers are about the only franchise that have enough money to get that historic contract done.
What?
Yes,
every one of us unbiased analysts just said, I'd like him to go to my favorite team.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
No, but I think the Dodgers are legitimately in contention. I'm not just saying that because I am a Dodgers fan.
There it is, Howard completing it with the evil empire.
I'm sorry. Somebody say, hold my beer. Somebody need a contract written. What do we need? You need
there
money?
you go, dude.
Oh, man.
The old Steinbrenner. That's what we need.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
He'd make it happen.
Roll that old carcass out of the grave and let him pay $500 million to Shohei Ohtani. Could you imagine like him going to the Mets? How annoying that fan base would be.
The best.
Oh,
yeah.
no,
Jared Moore.
Insufferable.
Jared Moore saying in the chat, 600 million. Is that
as soon as he got to the Mets, he would go on a disabled list. You know what I'm saying? So don't send him to the Mets because we want to see him play. We don't want to see him sitting on the bench.
The curse.
It is a curse.
The Reds-Orioles season is even with Cincinnati beating the home team last night 3-1. Orioles demolished the Reds on Monday 3-10. Starting pitchers tonight are Reds' Luke Weaver and Kyle Gibson at home in Baltimore. Cincinnati is the underdog at plus 155, and Baltimore is the favorite at minus 180. Who are you taking to win the series tonight at Camden Yards? Coop, you're first.
Yeah, so we talked about this Reds team a couple days ago, last week, in fact, and I kind of said that they were frauds to some degree. I didn't, I was like, they beat the Rockies, they beat the Royals, who cares, right? And I said, if they can go into Atlanta playing this Braves team and win the series, then I'll be on board. Well, they didn't win the series, but they won a game, and each game was decided by one run. They put up a fight against one of the best teams in the league here. For me, personally, I don't really think that the Orioles, even with the pitching disparity in this matchup, are all that much better than the Reds. They need to be favored like this. So I'm actually, if Corey's in on the Ohtani train, I've changed my mind. I'm in on the Reds train. Let's go. Let's go Reds over Orioles tonight.
Yeah, the pitching tonight. Luke Weaver, oof, a 6.86 ERA, and you're going to go up against Austin Hayes and Ryan O'Hearn. Like that just doesn't mesh. However, Gibson looks pretty subpar as well with a 4.3 ERA, and I'm not really sure how he holds up against this kind of red-hot trio of Spencer Steer, Austin Friedel, and Ellie De La Cruz. Whatever the over is in this game, I'm taking. Just throwing that out there. And as good as Cincinnati has been, I'm willing to put a little sprinkle on the plus odds for them to actually snatch this series away from Baltimore. I think that they have the momentum going in their favor. I think that they they shocked them last night, and they've got the pitching going as well. So I think that they're going to take this series tonight.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to back the Orioles here. I think the Orioles are in a great spot right now. They're smelling blood in the water with the Rays being a vulnerable team here in the month of June. Rays have only played, middle of the road type baseball right now. So they've cooled down from their hot start. Orioles are definitely taking off. Listen, if you're looking at just a straight up pitching matchup, I'll take Kyle Gibson over Luke Weaver any day. Puke Weaver is one of the absolute worst pitchers, and he's a complete fraud, and he needs to go away. I think Kyle Gibson is a little bit more on the underrated side. I think he definitely has some decent stuff, enough to at least be an innings eater, keep the O's in the game. I get that you've got the Reds, who are this, fantastic team, and it's a great story, and I think somebody last week called them America's team, but the bottom line is that they lost a series to the Braves. It was a very hard fought series. It was very emotional. And I think that now they're kind of like cooling off here, and the O's are going to take advantage.
Yeah, an emotional baseball series in June. Interesting. Listen, here's the deal, right? We have got to the point of simulation to where we're laying $1.80 with the Baltimore Orioles. Now, maybe I just woke up. Maybe I missed something. The Baltimore Orioles have been doormats of sports for the past 30 years. I don't lay $1.80 with the Yankees or the Braves or the big MLB teams. You know what I'm saying? I guess the Reds are one of them too now. So don't ever lay $1.80 on a favorite, especially when that favorite is the Baltimore Orioles. They can go back to being the Baltimore Orioles just like that.
No. Dude,
Howard, you lay $1.80 with the Orioles?
Dude, listen,
I'm
not gonna lay it. Listen, there are bets that you make and there are bets that you don't make. But if we're talking about straight up who's gonna win this game, I'm putting the Orioles. The Orioles are 25-15 at home. They've got a plus 31 run differential. You can't look at the Orioles as being the same thing. Now I know Britt said Austin Hayes and Ryan O'Hearn, and you're like, who?
Yeah.
But you want to talk about Gunnar Henderson, who's going to compete for the Rookie of the Year honors. You're talking about Adley Rutschman, who is definitely taking a step forward. They just got back Cedric Mullins, who's going to be back in that leadoff spot. A rock solid guy. They're going to get back Ryan Mountcastle, so they're going to get some power back at first base. The Orioles' biggest issue has always been pitching. And for them to be able to compete long term, Mike Elias needs to go out and he needs to get better starting pitching. They keep screwing up their pitching, and that's been one of their big problems. But they do have a young and exciting team, and I'll take them over the Reds because you can laugh about it being an emotional, series here in the month of June. But let's face facts. The Reds, they brought up Ellie De La Cruz. Everybody was like, oh my God, the Reds. They're like the new darlings. They went from like plus 2,000 to plus 350 to just win the NL Central in a 2-week span. So all I'm saying is let's just pump the brakes a little bit on the Reds. Let's not underestimate the Orioles, because what did the Reds do? They took their high and mighty attitude and they went down. They started playing the Braves, and the Braves thumped them 2 out of 3 games.
Exactly.
And the one game that the Reds
Thumped by one run.
It was 11-10. That was, it's
the other ones were 7-6. And I will say this, Howard, minus 180. You won't bet them, but you think they're going to win. How could you say something so controversial yet so brave?
So just parlay it with
if
the
I
over.
want to make 20 cents, sure, no problem. I'll make that bet. I don't need to bet a minus 180. Would you? Or can you do that? Yeah, of course you can. But I like to do little different things with my money. I don't need to lay down action that is that I'm paying that kind of a juice. Look at what happened. The A's were plus 135 yesterday to beat the Yankees, and that happened.
That's why you don't lay that tight on Major League in baseball.
I'm not gonna bet it.
Before we wrap this up,
plays 5-game parlays with underdogs every night. He don't never hit them, but guess what? Timmy won away every night.
Hey, before we leave this topic, let's pivot to something positive real quick. Is there any team that has better logos than the Orioles across the board, the old ones and the new ones?
And they got the best stadium in pro sports.
A classic, an absolute. As long as you stay on the right side of the stadium. Once you get to the back part of that area, it's not that nice.
Best logo in sports. Best logo.
No, dude, the birds, all the birds, man. Every one of them. I like the old ones. I like the new ones. I like the O's. I like it all, dude.
You're right about that, though. Camden is pretty special, but Wrigley Field is a close second. It's a lovely, lovely ballpark. All right, last topic.
Losing balls in the ivy.
You guys haven't seen a ballpark until you've attended a game at E. coli Stadium in Oakland.
Can they have night games at Wrigley yet?
Oh my God.
Now we're being mean to Heather.
There are lights at Wrigley.
Getting out of control.
Beautiful ballpark. I don't know what y'all are thinking.
It is beautiful, Heather. It is beautiful.
We continue to break down the NFL divisional odds. Yesterday, we hit the NFC North. Today, we are crossing conferences and breaking down the AFC North. Just like the Vikings in the NFC, the Bengals moonwalked to the North divisional title. Bengals suffered a devastating loss in the NFC Championship to the future Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bengals are the favorite to win the division for a third year in a row at plus 150. The Ravens are a close second at plus 275. Do you feel the Browns or Steelers have a chance at clinching the division, or is it a 2-team race? Tell us who you got to win the AFC North. Britt, you are up first.
So I really feel like anybody in this division has a chance. The AFC North has been historically competitive, and as rough as the Steelers look on paper, Mike Tomlin has always found a way to win. The Browns, surprisingly, actually also have the same win total as the Baltimore Ravens on the books. And with Deshaun Watson having a full offseason under his belt, a little bit more of that rush shaken off, and a few new weapons they brought in with Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman, I really think that they could be sneaky good. Then you factor in the Ravens with Todd Monken calling the shots and a presumably healthy Lamar Jackson, and it's all up in the air. All that said, I still think it's going to be the Bengals. They have a crazy soft schedule against the Cardinals, Texans, Commanders, Falcons, Rams, etc. Give me Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow and the Bengals as well to win the division, but the Baltimore Ravens are a playoff team in this division, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to put something on the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC in general, because when Lamar Jackson has been healthy, the Baltimore Ravens be the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Bengals played them very well, though. The Bengals have had their number in recent years. So I still like, and I think that Joe Burrow's getting ready for an historic season. So I'm going to go with the Bengals. But the Hall of Fame head coach in this division, Mike Tomlin, can have the Pittsburgh Steelers right back in the mix this year. you look at the development of Kenny Pickett going into the back end of last season, I think they get better on defense. You already know about the culture with that organization. So I think the Browns, who should be good, are the odd team out. Bengals up front, Baltimore right behind them, and Pittsburgh surprisingly better than people think.
I'm a little hurt that you're dismissing the Browns. Listen, I hate Cleveland as much as the next guy does because the city is just absolute trash. But I really like this team, man. I actually like the Browns. I think that, listen, you've got the best running back in the game in Nick Chubb. The dude is an absolute stud. The offensive line is strong. The defense is strong. In the passing game now, this is where we have Deshaun Watson, who, yes, lacked the ability to come back and do anything last year with the excessive time off. But now that he's had the entire season, the off season, he's going to have an entire training camp. I think we're looking at some good things here. He's got the weapons to do it. A little disappointed to find out that they're out on DeAndre Hopkins, but with Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, and their other, pass catchers, I think that the Browns can be the darling. It's probably still Cincinnati, but I'm not ruling out the Browns.
Yeah, I love that I get to sit back and go last on this one and just, judge what you guys are all saying and inevitably decide which of you guys is right and smart. And this time it happens to be Howard Bender, because we look through this division and what we like to do when we bet on divisions, and we don't like betting on variables. We don't like betting on a team with the first time offensive coordinator coming out of college, not from a different NFL team, out of college. And that's Todd Monken. I'm not betting on the Ravens. I'll bet on the Ravens next year if I'm going to bet on them. And when I look around at these odds, the Steelers and Kenny Pickett don't do it for me. These Browns, I can find them at plus 425, and they have the guy they paid $1 bazillion. The team was good last year with Jacoby Brissett. I see no reason why they can't win this in the land of parity and injury. It doesn't take much for a team like that with a 9.5 win over under already to just win this division, right?
Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Mike Tomlin. There's 3 reasons why they can't win the division, Coop. It doesn't stack up. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Deshaun Watson, he looked real bad. Like, not like I'm rusty. He looked like I suck. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen this guy. We've seen this guy be good on terrible teams before. Now he's on a good team. I think you have to admit it. It's there. But I will admit that he did suck last year in a new offense on a new team. Lamar Jackson's going to a new offense and a new team the first time here, or a same team.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. If this is the first, if he plays every game, it would be the first time.
I mean, I'm pretty curious to see what happens with Lamar Jackson in this new offensive scheme. I mean, we didn't see him really blossom until Greg Roman got his hooks into him and really helped develop the scheme. And I think that that's one of the things. Todd Monken isn't going to want Lamar Jackson to take off and run it all. It's just not in the scheme. And he's trying to, spare him the extra wear and tear. But that's Lamar Jackson's game. And so now, the question is are we trying to fit a square peg into a round hole with it? Listen, I think that Lamar Jackson is ridiculously talented, but I do question some of the weapons around him. Is Rashad Bateman's foot going to be okay? Is Odell Beckham going to be a problem in the clubhouse because he's not seeing the targets that he wants? What's Zay Flowers going to do? Is Mark Andrews still going to be the number 1 receiving target in this scheme? So I think that there are still a lot of questions to answer about the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not going to dismiss the talent of Jackson, but I can't jump in head first on a new offensive scheme for him right now.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the day of the BSN programming. Thank you.